Right kind of emotions. In this video, we'll be looking at why emotions are important to God and why existential apologetics or existential reasons matter. We're going to look at a couple different things, and we'll also be looking at some of my story to kind of see how existential reasons or existential apologetics has been helpful and encouraging for me. But before we dive in, let's go ahead and drop the intro. This is the Vega Pod, inviting you to look at the issues through a biblical lens. As I said earlier, we're going to be looking at developing the right kinds of emotions and how those emotions ultimately lead us to God, and how emotions and reason are an ideal way to faith. So let me go ahead and slap some things around here and we'll dive right in. All right. Why existential apologetics matters. The last few videos have been about existential reasons for belief in God. Existential reasons matter because our emotions play an essential role in our faith. Emotions and reason give us a more complete faith. Let me slide this around here. Hold on a second. I want to be sure it looks good on my end. And where were we? Oh, here we go. So for me, right, growing up, attending, I grew up attending mostly Pentecostal churches. So I saw a high emphasis on emotion. In some cases, an unhealthy emphasis on emotion, which as I got older, I started to notice much more. This turned me off to some aspects of faith. It didn't come off as genuine. It seemed like it was manufactured, right? It wasn't authentic. Not in all cases, but it wasn't real, right? It seemed like it was forced to a degree. On top of attending mostly Pentecostal churches, these were Spanish churches, right? Spanish Pentecostal churches. So to say that there was a high emphasis on emotion would be an understatement. If you know, you know. I'm talking shouting, the hollering, right? The dancing, the stomping, all that. There isn't anything wrong with any of this. If you're feeling the Holy Spirit and if you're feeling the Holy Spirit and not disrupting the service, Corinthians gives us some guidelines on how, on what this ought to look like, right? This is the issue is when people start expecting you to react like this, and to a degree, kind of look down on you if you don't, right? They look down on those who don't exhibit these behaviors, right? This isn't just a Pentecostal or a Spanish church thing. This happens with other churches too. I'm just using this as an example, and it's kind of like my personal story, which will lead into why existential apologetics matters. Unfortunately, also those statistics, right? Statistics show that you know teenagers, 18 or yeah, I guess when they graduate high school, tend to drift from their faith, and that was the case for me. Not long after turning 18, I drifted from the faith of my youth, right, for a few years. In my early to mid 20s, the Lord placed some people in my life that helped me rediscover my faith. This was a journey, and it led me to discovering that there was evidence for my beliefs, strong evidence. This is how apologetics, is important, and how it helps kind of remove some obstacles that are thrown out there, but for some people, from an intellectual perspective, anyway. I'm extremely thankful for coming across evidential apologetics. It has benefited me greatly. One negative that came out of it was that I subconsciously started to dismiss emotions. I wasn't fully aware of it while it was happening, but as I look back and reflect, you know, even encountering different people, it was just if I came across another believer who started to tell me about an experience that they had, or started a sentence with "I feel," I immediately disregarded what they said. If it was based on emotions, it was wrong. Coming across this idea of existential apologetics and reading this book, right, Existential Reasons for Belief in God, corrected my perspective. It showed me that reason wasn't the only way to examine faith, and the best approach is to incorporate both reason and emotions. This idea of emotions and reason are an ideal way to faith. There's nothing wrong with emotional worship, whether that's in song, teaching, or praising. Other things could be wrong, but that's a different conversation. Emotions in itself are not wrong. God created us, to have and to experience these emotions. Developing the right kinds of emotions It's a process, much like the rest of our faith walk. God created us to have emotions. He created us with the capacity to feel awe when looking at the ocean, to desire meaning that's more than just temporal, right? To desire meaning as long lasting. And He created us to love and be loved. Emotions matter to God, therefore, they should matter to us. Emotion and need can be trusted for faith. And these are going to be 8 reasons. And I'm pulling these from the book Existential Reasons for Belief in God. These are 8 reasons that or 8 reasons why emotion is essential to our faith walk, right? And in some cases, so as I said earlier, emotion and reason are the ideal way to faith. So these eight, I guess, points on emotions are going to be tied into that. Emotion and need can be trusted for faith in God as much as reason. The negative assessment of emotions by some Christians is unjustified. The remedy for being led astray by emotions is not to distrust emotions, but to develop the right emotions. Christians should cultivate emotions as much as they do commitment and right action. Having the right emotions is necessary for discovering certain truths. Objectivity and neutrality, free of all emotion, are not the only paths to determining the nature of reality. We are not just rational minds, as Aristotle asserted, but emotional animals as well. Apologetics in Protestant and Catholic Christianity has been too evidential. It should be supplemented with existential apologetics, the demonstration that Christian faith is justified because it satisfies certain emotional and spiritual needs. Emotions are part of what makes life spectacular. All right. So, why existential reasons, right? Why does existential apologetics matter? Why are emotions and reason an ideal way to faith? Ultimately, because emotions and reason, when they work hand in hand, they give us a fuller picture of our faith. They can, in a sense, influence that journey, right? And we were made to have these emotions, so we shouldn't just dismiss them. So it's a little bit of my story as to why existential reasons, existential apologetics have been, important for me, and how they've corrected some of my perspectives, and how they have led me to a fuller, more complete picture of what faith is. So thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you guys next time. Have a great Sunday.